All right, we're back for episode 3 of the Hustler Circle, 3 minds, 1 mission. And I'm really excited. We're at one of our warehouse facilities here in South Florida. You'll hear some background noise. There's a lot of work happening here constantly. And it's just to give you a perspective of our day-to-day grind on the Funding Supreme side, but we also run a couple of e-com businesses successfully. But today I want to shift a little bit. We talked about in the last couple of episodes about starting your business, having business ideas, getting 0% funding, how to make sure that you balance your work-life balance. But one of the things that we get asked a lot, and we don't spend a lot of time on, but we do personally, is leveraging the points that you get from the credit cards. And so much so that by the time you're watching this, we will most likely be in London, us 3, and we are doing this trip, number 1, to decompress. We'll also be working in some capacity, but we're doing this with $0 out of pocket. So I wanted to, probably kick it off with you, D, and then get your thoughts as well, Alex, because this is not the main reason why clients should get credit cards and do a lot of their purchases on credit cards. The 0% is the number 1 kind of priority, but having access to these points is a game changer.
Yeah, the points, the miles, and the redemption overall, they're their own like multiverses, like we've discussed. And it gets deep. Obviously you have, let's say on any random credit card, a 75,000 point introductory offer or a 100,000 point introductory offer. But then if the client is not knowledgeable, which honestly, up until the last year or so, I didn't really know what I could really do with points and how to maximize them. So services like Seats.Aero or Point on Me, now you can cash in on those points or the miles, because the ultimate way to look at it is those points or miles should be considered currency. And then where are you grabbing the currency and how are you transferring it to certain airline partners where you get more redemption awards? When are you booking it? What platforms are you using to book it? Versus just using the proprietary travel one within the creditor. As an example, American Express has a lot of weight in terms of their currency because they have a lot of airline partners. So for instance, I've gone deep into the rabbit hole in terms of understanding how to redeem the points for specific miles. For hotels. For flights. Alex now is diving deep into the hotels because that's another world. Yeah. It's a different one. I don't even know how to even cash in my points for hotel because I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm only on the flights and now he's handling the hotel. So it's now our next trip, because we did pay for our Airbnb, but now our next trip, I'm assuming it's probably going to be free for the rooms.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to position yourself into getting free travel with the credit card redemption points. One of the great credit cards that I was looking into, if you're a big spender, if you have a company that you just spend a lot of money on your credit card, essentially if you're spending the money on a debit card, we want to teach you how to spend it on credit cards, right? But there's a specific credit card that I found the other day. It's the American Express Delta airline one. It's the business one, where if you just spend a lot of volume, then that volume correlates to getting points with Delta. And if you look at the tiers of, I think it's platinum.
Yeah, it's diamond, platinum, gold. And to get to diamond, it's legitimately 3% of frequent flyers for Delta reach that level. Right. And the 3% have that Delta card. It's their business card. It's similar to the platinum Amex. It's a metal card. I think it's $6.95, but you get 1 point per dollar. So there's an equivalency there. But then per purchase of airlines, you get 5x. Yeah. Right. So if you're flying a lot as well, you get a ridiculous amount. I used that card last year and the years before when I was traveling a lot for work. And now having, started working with you guys in the last 14 months and leveraging AI, Seats.Aero, all these websites, they're all AI based. They're all scraping the internet and finding the best partners that give you multiples. So for this flight, I use some of my personal Amex points to convert them to Virgin Atlantic, which was converting at a 40% bonus. Right. So for every mile, I got 1.4. Yeah. Which you do that times whatever the amount that we needed for that flight. I was able to get the flight for $200 of just taxes and fees, which is crazy. And
Also-
I booked it late.
So like another big thing about like the credit cards and the points with like redeeming them, right? Is there's multipliers. A lot of people don't know this, and I actually didn't know this until about a year ago. So like if you're running a lot of Facebook ads, or you're running a lot of, if you're running Meta ads, sorry, let me correct myself, or TikTok ads, you put that on a specific credit card with American Express and you get a 4x multiplier. So it's important to do the research and see where your clients are spending the majority of their money and see which card is best suitable for their business to get the highest redemption.
Yeah. And that goes back to like, we get asked and, we provide some context to our clients on our consultancy side around like, not everything has to be 0%. So yes, we're going to get you to 0% capital, but there are instances where customers need cash. If they have a business that's 2 years or greater with tax returns, we can help them get the access to the cash that they need for purchasing equipment and all that stuff, et cetera. But then also marketing expenses. It doesn't, honestly, sometimes it doesn't really matter if it's 0% because that's going to return, the ROI is going to be very fast. So put that on a gold card, which you get the 4x multiplier. And it's a misconception that we hear a lot from our clients. Like, all right, so like you're recommending me to get this gold card. Well, I'm like, yes, you told us you spend 20 grand a month in marketing.
Yep.
You're going to get at least 80,000 points a month. And that 180,000 is a dual round trip with you and your wife or you and your kids to somewhere in the US.
Yeah.
And then if you're smart enough, you spend that every month, you have round trip a Euro trip with your family once a year that is paid on the business because the business at the expense, it's your points and you split it with your partners and then that's how it works. Ultimately, what I wanted to start today's conversation with is like all the benefits that come from you now investing in the business and actually shifting the spend towards a business that is business oriented. Points is one of those. And just being able and being capable of doing it constantly. I feel like like you said, it's a rabbit hole. So we're not going to have all the answers right now.
No, because
but we're going to link some of the stuff
everything bleeds into the next. And that's why, when you and I hear clients like, oh, well, I don't want credit cards deep because X, Y, or Z, because I need cash only, right? It's like you have Wells Fargo who owns the Bilt credit card showing you that you can pay your rent on a credit card, right? If you look at things versus what it is, like, versus like whatever stigma it is, like how, like our parents say, oh, you need cash is king, cash is king. Like, I look at the credit cards as currency, like in the point situation. What can I do with that? Most business owners don't know you can run your payroll through ADP with a credit card. So now effectively that just became a 3% interest loan that you're paying back over 12 months, and it gives you the runway just for your payroll, or inventory or whatever the case may be. So understanding the true dynamics of a credit card and what how they can truly blossom and put the client in a position where like they can make so many moves. Now it opens so many more doors because the flights, the hotels, the everything, it's all interconnected. And bro, like if all this shit comes down to like, organization. If someone's organized and they're very meticulous, the deeper you get into it, the more understanding you get, which is the more implementation you're able to do.
And it segues to the next topic that I had, which was the stigma around like, I don't want credit cards because I need access to cash. It's 2024. You can pay rent, like you mentioned with the Bilt card, and not only pay rent, but get points for it. That's the benefit of the Bilt card. The second one is any vendor that sends you an invoice, right? Which is, I would presume to be 99.9%. Like if you're not getting an invoice, what the hell are you buying? Like you get an invoice at McDonald's, at Starbucks, you get some type of receipt of the transaction. If you get an invoice, you can pay with a credit card. There's companies called Plastic with a Q, Melio, that allow you to open up an account and pay vendors directly with your corporate card, your business card, et cetera. There's nothing crazy. These companies are fintech companies. They get paid off of every swipe. What happens with the interaction with you and that vendor and all that stuff, it's none of their business because they want volume. They want to be a bank, right? In that scenario, they want to be the middleman because every 1,000 transactions is like 20 grand for them from Visa or MasterCard, Amex. That's their game, right? So I go back to you, Al, because you hear this a lot from your clients, and it's part of the education process of like letting them know that the cards are as effective, if not more, even more warranted, especially in the industries that they're playing in, because you have chargeback capabilities when you do get screwed. by a vendor.
So I had a recent issue, actually for the business in this warehouse, where a vendor they made us pay for these goods. I think it was like $5 a unit, if I'm not mistaken. And long story short, I think it was like 80 days later, they marked down the price of the product to $2.50. So now I'm in the whole $2.50 cost. I haven't even made any money. So I called them back and I told the vendor I have a very good relationship. But I told them, hey, look, I need you guys to take the goods back and just, refund my Amex. Because everything we do is on the Amex, right? Like for many reasons. And this is one of the main reasons. And they didn't want to take the goods back. I had an outstanding relationship. They said, no, we're not going to take it back. We had to put it on a blowout sale. I was like, look, you guys are putting my business in a position where we're going to lose now. So I called Amex. I sent the invoice. I told them exactly what happened. They advised me to mail the merchandise back to the distributor, which we did. And Amex fully refunded the money. So again, aside from the points, you also have the chargeback capabilities. On the personal side, on my personal Amex, last year we booked a hotel in the Keys. We went, we didn't like it. It was just nothing what they advertised. And long story short, I called Amex, told them what happened. The truth, you just got to tell the company the truth. Hey, this wasn't what they sold me. They told me it was X, Y, and Z, and I got something completely different, and they refunded me the money, no problem. So aside from the chargeback service and the points, a big topic for me is the concierge service.
Got it.
That to me is one of the most important things about having great relationships with the credit card companies like Chase and American Express, because there's a lot of credit cards, and you have more knowledge than I do, that don't give you points. Like Wells Fargo, they didn't really give me so many points. They don't really have a great concierge service, but Chase and Amex have the best concierge service in the industry. You just call them and say, hey, look, it's like you're talking to a friend of yours. You just call in, hey, I want to take a trip with my family. This is where I'm thinking of going. And it's almost like you're staying at the Ritz-Carlton, the service they give you.
Yeah.
And it's not like an outsourced, call center or anything like that. It's someone domestic, which is also big for me because the communication is much more effective. But yeah, the concierge service, D knows a lot about it too. I mean, what are your thoughts on the concierge service? I think it's huge.
I don't use it as much because obviously you and I are plugged in with the our guy that does the hotels for us, Jason. Shout out to Jason. But yeah, like when you're in a bind, especially, or like even sometimes you have like weird situations, like you get phone insurance through, sometimes you get like credits for Uber, or you get credits for certain purchases that are made. So like
rental coverage.
You
like,
don't have to,
when you rent
for
a
instance,
car.
when I was in Charlotte last week, I didn't get the insurance
because you used
which was an extra $150 because I forgot which credit
Chase
card.
Sapphire Preferred.
Chase Sapphire, we had that it covered it. So I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So the more due diligence and understanding what the products can give you in terms of like your return on investment with that annual fee, you can make it make sense. But like for instance, I personally, I don't have the Amex Platinum anymore because it's too, it doesn't make sense. He has it, so like by default, I kind of have it. I go into lounges or whatever the case may be, so I don't need to be paying that twice. I already get the benefits from him. I have the Chase Sapphire Reserve. He doesn't have it. So it's like, that's our situation. Or like, for instance, you have cards that I don't have, and we have those benefits as well. So like, it depends on what everyone's circumstances are. But there is, the same way in life, there's someone for everyone. There's a credit card for someone.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if you're responsible, you have multiple credit cards, and you should have 5 to 6 on average to show that type of responsibility. But there is a credit card for every single person out there.
Yeah.
Well, ask yourself this question, right? If you're spending $100,000 a month between your business and your personal side, why wouldn't you want fun tokens? Let's just call it fun instead of points. Why wouldn't you want fun tokens in return for spending the money you're going to spend regardless? Like, I don't spend any of my money on my debit card. When I log into my Chase debit account or my Navy Federal,
it's just to pay the credit cards.
You just see very minimal transactions to either the credit card companies or any other personal transactions, but there's not like daily purchases where I have to cipher through my personal account and Chevron and this and that. Mm-hmm. Like I have a gas card, I have my grocery card, I have my airline card. So it's like D said, you got to get organized and know what you're trying to accomplish.
And it's crazy because the knowledge starts and the exposure starts like on the personal side. Like my wife has a white Amex card that hasn't existed since 2008. but she stayed with it because it gives her $6 per every dollar spent in groceries, capped at $30,000 a year. So like, bro, do the math.
Yeah.
We spend $300 plus a week in groceries, all organic stuff. And then if you do that times 4, that's 1,200. We will never get to 30.
No.
But she's getting like 100-something thousand points just buying. We're gonna buy groceries, period. And I'm like, she was like, should I get the gold? I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I have the gold, I have the platinum. So just I get her a card. She can use that for everything else. Those are the type of things. And with our clients, just going back a little bit to leveraging the cards for things that historically were cash oriented. I mean, ADP for like we were talking about, you can actually remove the liability you have, the cash liability you have on your salaries, and defer those for 12 months at 0%, or in this case 3%, which is a swipe fee, and buy yourself the ability to purchase more inventory, to then get more revenue, to then pay off those cards and get more employees. And those are the kind of things that it's hard to understand and grasp, because it's like we're coming at you from like what the new wave is bringing, and it's like I'm trying to convince my dad, who can barely log into his computer.
And that's when it gets into the part of our engagements with clients, knowing when to just go left versus going right. Like when to deal with the client versus saying, you know what, you're right. Because sometimes in life, it's better to be happy versus being right. Okay, you be right, man. Cool, whatever. Because we know what we know, and it is objective. There are no emotions attached. Like if God forbid something were to go south in a transaction, in business especially, and you're paying a cash versus credit card, with a credit card, like Alex said earlier, and like we've had to do a couple times, and unfortunately people don't know this, like you can do chargebacks. Hey, I haven't. You had never done one
in my life.
You had never done one. And remember, I sat down with him like, hey, let's do it like this, whatever, because that is why that relationship exists. That's why you pay those interest rates to be with those creditors, because if things go south, guess what? They're gonna have your back. And you know what? I'd rather have Chase have my back, or Amex or Wells Fargo, when I'm up against such and such distribution company that shit the bed and didn't want to go ahead and like send things the right way, or they didn't, or like that fintech company that kept charging us once a year or whatever. So it's like, those are the benefits that people just aren't cognizant of. And then that's the reason why that relationship needs to exist. Because if it doesn't, you're stuck being your own benefactor, and you're stuck you can't do a chargeback on cash.
Nope. No, it's a civil matter.
Yeah, like,
or on a wire transaction, like you can't.
Yeah,
hey, I need my wire back. You know.
Yeah,
like,
no.
And the thing is,
that number will be disconnected in 2 seconds.
And go try doing a chargeback on a debit card.
Oh,
you want to go on a mission? Go do a chargeback on a debit card. That is the biggest mission you're ever going to experience. You might as well have just paid cash, because it was the same thing anyways. Debit card doesn't report on your credit report, doesn't get you points, doesn't get you cash back. So it's important to leverage OPM, other people's money, in this case the banks, so you can be in a position of what? Playing by the rules of what this country is. That's just the way the credit system is set up. If you like it, cool. If you don't, that's cool too, but that's just what it is. And if you know the rules and you play by the rules, now you're in a position where you can go ahead and excel, increase your runway, and really have a chance at like creating generational wealth.
No, the funny thing for me is, like, when I'm talking to a client, you know, usually a successful business owner is usually the one to tell you this. They're like, no, I pay everything in cash. I'm good on credit cards. I find that to be literally the stupidest thing that you can tell me. And again, I'm not, you know, Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett or anything like that, but I think that we have some stripes on our shoulder to know that, like, that is beyond the stupidest statement you can make as a business owner. You want to build your rapport with these creditors, despite whether you're paying cash or card or whatever it is, because you want to let them know you're on the map. You want to build that relationship and show them the transactions. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm just going to go to Chase to get a credit card. No, open a business checking account. Open a personal account. A lot of people don't know this little trick that I'm about to give you guys for whoever's watching, but if you really want to raise your internal banking score right now, the easiest thing you can do with your personal bank is just drop $1,000 on a CD, lock it up for 9 months or a year. Your internal banking score, you don't just have a credit score, you have an internal banking score that all these banks are looking at. And by leaving $1,000 and saying, hey, Chase, here's $1,000 of my money, no matter how big or small, you don't have to be a big player. Like,
you don't.
We all started from the bottom. I still have CDs from a year ago of, you know, me and my brother have a joint account with Navy Fed, and it's like, we can see the CDs we have, and like, we don't have 100,000 each one. We have 1,000, 700, 800. So throwing, you know, little dabs here at every
with
bank.
With a purpose. Because like we did that. Why? Because our leases end on our cars in March. So by the time March comes, our age of history with Navy would be awesome. Our internal score is going to be awesome. And guess what? We know that Navy Federal has the best personal auto loan rates in the
Anywhere.
game.
In the game.
So
Yeah.
we're going to play by their rules with the rules that they're dictating. And then when it comes time for the lights to come on, they're going to hook us up.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's interesting because the CD component, building a relationship, is what we educate our clients on constantly. And all these banks, like for example, I've had Bank of America on the personal side since I walked into the University of Miami. They were literally in the lounge, and it was like the first bank I had to get because I was like, what else am I going to get? My parents had like City National at the time. They only had one branch on Sunset and 87th down here in Miami. I'm like, I'm not going to go all the way over there. So I opened this account. I've never had a credit card with them in my life because they don't have any points. Like, why am I going to? Yeah, they're my bank, but my first card was with Chase, and it's my first card was Discover, and I've had that card for 22 years.
Wow.
That's how long I've had that card, since I was 18.
Which bank, like credit card company creditor, do you like the most? Because you have outstanding credit. I think out of the three of us, you have the best.
I would say like the one I've had the best experience with is probably American Express.
Yeah.
Just because I'm
Don't
like,
fuck around.
and I'm not saying because they're the best, but I'm saying like they've set the table so well that it's very hard for you to not have a good experience, whether you're a frequent flyer or you're using it for daily purchases.
Yeah.
Like they're always reaching out to you to see how you're doing. I'm like, those small things, I'm like, I've had the Platinum card since 2012. And every time I call, I was like, Chris, thank you so much. We appreciate your business. Like, yeah, that's a script, but it doesn't come off as a script from them because they're genuinely, that department you call is only for you because you have the Platinum card too. Like if he calls and he has another Amex card, he can't get to that team.
No.
That team literally has a job because of the fees we pay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're really grateful. And I feel like other companies are doing the same thing. The Chase Sapphire Reserve, which I've had concurrently since it came out in
Or the
2016.
Venture X, they're trying.
The Venture X,
Yeah.
they're super good too.
Yeah.
But all these cards, the reason why I pay the premium is because they've given me a lot in return, and I'm utilizing all the perks. Like the $700 fee for the Platinum now that it just went up, like the $200 in Uber credit, Uber Eats, you and I will spend that all year. So that's $200. So now it's $495
You get 189 for Clear.
for Clear. Yep.
Yeah,
There-
with
now,
Clear,
now,
yes.
now you're at 300.
I'm paying Clear every year no matter what.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
waiting the
yeah,
regular line. You know, not every airport has Clear, but a lot of
even
major
stadiums
airports.
now.
Yeah.
You can
Stadiums have it,
bypass lines at stadiums. Like the
Yeah.
lines are long as hell. And I'm like, you're like, oh, there's a Clear. I'm like, oh, this is great. But all those things lead back to the benefits of the credit cards in the business landscape. But also like we've recently started educating clients on like, sometimes our clients need to beef up their personal profiles too. Because they come to us seeking credit. They got a $5,000 credit card. Some of them don't even have a credit card. I'm here like, that's not going to fly. Let's figure out some authorized user situation. But I'm like, we educate them even when they exit the program to get them a couple personal cards so that they beef up their profile. So in 12 months, they get 2 to 3x what they got on the business side.
Yeah.
And all those things are the factors that I believe help like create a better engagement with our clients.
Yeah.
Like they're not coming at this from a transactional perspective. They're coming at this from like, you learn something, and we're constantly educating. We're reaching out to clients like from March, just having business cards. They ask us for our opinion. I'm not gonna be like, nah, bro, I don't talk to you. Really, our agreement's over.
Yeah, literally yesterday, I have a client that her monthly payment on her, you saw it, her monthly payment on her car, what was it? $6,700.
Yeah.
A $385,000 Lamborghini that she accidentally got a late payment on. My next phone call was a client that I was trying to convince to get a secured credit card with a 560 credit score. So even though the information's the same, everybody's situation is very unique.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what also sets us apart is that like our clients feel and they understand, they know that like we're actually speaking to them and we're speaking to their situation versus speaking to like the destination that we're trying to go.
Yeah.
Like we'll ask clients, hey, look, you know, we said we're gonna get you to 50K or 100K. We're here. What do you want to do? Oh no, we need a little bit more, Dimitri. Or hey, Chris, hey, not whatever. And then that puts us in a position where like they really see that there's real caring here.
Yeah.
There's real involvement because ultimately we're not trying to do this a one-off for a client. Like if we build the foundation very strong right now with a client, we build the relationship very strong as well, the client's going to come to us in year 2 with arms wide open. Hey guys, where you been at or whatever. And then it doesn't even get to that point because we check in on them every few months or so on and so forth. And you know, it's been cool this experience to see all these different business owners that do cool shit.
Yeah.
You know, get invited to the box seats for the bankers. Like, so this multiverse has opened up so many doors for us in terms of like understanding people's everyday businesses, their structures, their strengths, their weaknesses,
struggles,
what the options we can give them available. Hey, let's get you an MCA loan right now to get your personal debt off. Then we can go ahead and open the floodgates to get you some business products, like meeting the business relationship managers at all the different banks, you know, knowing what works, knowing what doesn't work, and really providing that consulting to these clients where it's like they can continue to do what they're good at, which is their business.
Yeah.
Because to stop and try to think that you're going to understand this, you might grasp a few different concepts, but ultimately you're going to run hard inquiries, you're going to take up your time, your business is not going to be, you're not going to be moving the needle, and you're going to be in a more frustrated position than when you're in when we initially met, because you know this is not what you do for a daily basis.
Yeah, and I think that'll wrap up, you know, today's conversation, but I want to kind of give a little bit of a precursor to our next podcast. We've started in the last 60 days a relationship and figuring out how MCAs can be helpful for businesses. When we first started the Funding Supreme in the beginning of the year, we had almost like a juking component to the MCAs, not because we don't think they're helpful. The situations warrant the MCA components, but now we're starting to realize, and it's not from a monetary perspective from us, it's more there are specific types of clients that this is a cheat code for them.
Yeah.
Especially either preparing them for funding, right? Getting access to the capital versus going the personal loan route. It doesn't report on your credit profile, all this stuff, and then getting them ready. But I'll plant that seed and let us kind of think about it, and then we'll jump on for an MCA, and we'll potentially bring our partner Eric and stuff, and just have a little discussion on that piece. But I appreciate you guys. By the time you're hopefully watching this, we either have come back from London, so stay tuned, and we'll hit you guys back up for episode 4. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe and like button and comment any questions you have on the video. Have a good one, guys.
Bye, guys.